Darling, you send me, I know you send me, darling, you send me, I know you.
Hello, my name is Cassidy, and today we're at Northwestern University, my alma mater. I studied journalism and French here, and I actually took my first ever photo on campus in this very spot during freshman welcome week. I'll insert the picture of baby me right here. But it feels so nice to be back, and it's really making me kind of reflect even more on what my experience has been at Northwestern and ultimately in Medill. If you don't know what Medill is, it's Northwestern's journalism school. It's also one of the best known journalism programs in America. I, as a high school student, was researching all of the best J schools, and Medill was always towards the top of that list. And that kind of reputation is what drew me here. But lately, I've been reflecting a lot more on what are the pros and the cons of attending Medill. And I want to share that with you. And throughout this video, I'll also just be giving you a small tour of McTrib, which is the main building where most Medill classes are. So let's do it.
Send me, darling, you send me, I know you do. Send me, I know you do. Send me, I know you do.
So first, we're gonna start with a con. Gotta start on a negative note. But basically, one thing I really didn't enjoy about Medill is that I didn't know that Medill is super print focused. I think journalism as an industry is constantly evolving into digital. Podcasting is on the rise, video, social media, digital is becoming a huge thing in journalism. But Medill is still kind of backwards. It's still very much focused on magazine writing and news writing. And while those skills are super important, I felt very stuck when I came here because originally I had dreams of becoming a sports writer, and that was really my focus. But as I kind of progressed in my time at Northwestern, I realized that I was super into podcasting and just digital media in general. And ultimately, there wasn't a lot of opportunity academic wise to explore those areas. There's one intro to podcasting class, there's one intro to social media class, there's only two documentary classes here. And so I think if you're interested in print or maybe broadcasting, academically you're going to learn a lot here. But I think if you're interested in digital media and that's really your focus, I think it may be good to look at other schools' programs because Medill is really print focused. And so that, for me, is kind of the biggest con that I experienced here.
Send me, darling, you send me, I know you send me, darling, you.
So I wanted to bring up one pro of going to Medill, which I think the biggest one is that NU Medill really prepares you for the professional journalism world. My 4 years here, I worked for the Daily Northwestern, which is the student newspaper. And during those 4 years, it was really like a full-on job. And, my junior year, I was the podcast editor, which required late nights. I was managing a team of 12 people, and I really had to consistently churn out content. And I think even though it's a student newsroom, Northwestern and what they ingrain in you really made it an atmosphere where I was able to learn and really push myself professionally. And even when I was kind of applying for internships, a lot of people knew about the Daily Northwestern because it's kind of has this reputation of a professional college paper. I also participated in Medill's residency program, which is basically junior year. Instead of taking classes one quarter, you do a full-time internship. I decided to work at LinkedIn, but I had friends who went to the Washington Post, and I had a friend who worked at Washingtonian on these huge papers across the country. And so I think in an industry that is super competitive, it is so nice to have a professional internship opportunity just built into your academic program. And it will help you years to come, kind of being able to say you have that on your resume. And finally, I will just kind of mention the Medill F. At Medill, if you make a grammatical error or a factual error, you will automatically get an F on that assignment. Which, when I came here, I was kind of like, that is super intense and kind of unnecessary. But it really is kind of promoting this idea of paying attention to all of the details. As a professional journalist, being factually correct is really important. And so I think the fact that that's built into classes of, yes, if you make an error, you will get an F, really puts an emphasis on being professional even in the homework you turn in.
Send me, darling, you. Send me, darling, you.
So this is my second con, and it's a really quick one. Medill does not have the ability to specialize, which I think is a huge norm for a lot of journalism programs. If you're interested in magazines, you can specialize in magazines. If you're interested in broadcast, you can specialize in that. But for the undergraduate degree, you cannot specialize, which for me was kind of frustrating just because specialization kind of helps with clarity on where you're going in your career and where you're going in your degree, but also it kind of looks good on your resume to be able to say, I got a Medill at this place and I also specialized in this area of journalism. And so I think that's something to keep in mind and kind of weigh how important that is to you, the fact that you cannot specialize here at Medill. While you can't specialize as an undergrad here at Medill, I think a huge pro and benefit of coming here is it's super easy to get your bachelor's degree and your master's in 4 years. The program's called Medill's Accelerated Master's Program, and essentially a ton of people get their bachelor's and master's in only 4 years. I had a ton of friends that did it. I personally didn't do it, but it was a great way for them to kind of be able to get a specialization through their master's. So there's different, you can kind of do your master's in magazine and film. There's a lot of different types that you can kind of get it in, but it is a great way to kind of get that master's done in a super short amount of time. So my last con of going to Medill is a lot of the professors here are older. And I think while that may not seem like a huge deal, I think in an industry like journalism that is constantly evolving, constantly changing, and journalism today doesn't look that similar from journalism like 15 years ago. I think having a lot of older professors that have been out of the game for over a decade is kind of a problem. There are many instances during my time here of taking classes where I just felt like my professors were out of touch with what journalism is like right now. It is important to kind of reflect on what the demographic of professors look like here, and I think the reality is a lot of them are older and kind of out of touch. So we're at the end of the video, so this is my last pro of going to Medill, which is everyone in journalism knows what Medill is. It's one of the top journalism schools in America, and my friends and I in journalism always joke about riding the Medill name as much as you can, like milking it as much as you possibly can, Because in an industry like journalism that's already oversaturated, to kind of have the Medill name on your resume is a huge advantage. And unfortunately, it is a bit of elitism that exists within kind of the college sphere of, going to a more prestigious university will get you farther in your career. And I've seen it. I'm only a year out of college, and I've already seen the benefits of going to Medill. One of the first internships I ever got was at this podcast called Love and Radio, which, if you don't know what it is, it's a huge podcast. They get millions of downloads each episode. And I had no journalism experience whatsoever before interviewing for that internship. I had a mentor here that got me in touch with the host of the podcast. We had like a 15-minute informal interview, and he literally asked me in it, "Oh, you go to Medill? That's like all I need to know." And so I think that is just one example of just how far the Medill name will get you, how that can really benefit you in your career. And I feel like I've seen all of my friends go to really insane places right out of college. One of my close friends is at the Washington Post. I have another friend that's interning at the New York Times right now. And I wouldn't say that these people are exceptions to the rule. I really think they are the rule. Medill and having that name on your resume really does making getting your foot in the door at these big name journalism places a lot more possible. And so I think while I've kind of talked about the cons of going to Medill, and there are cons like with any school, the fact of the matter is going to Medill will get you farther in your journalism career, and it will help you. And so I think that's a good way to kind of end this video. And I hope you kind of learned a bit about what Medill is like, some things to kind of keep in mind when you're kind of choosing between which J school you want to attend. And I had a lot of fun just reflecting on my experience and what I have enjoyed and what I haven't here at Northwestern. So thanks for watching.